cracking, everybody? New video. And I've never done a video like this. Those of you that have been subscribed to the channel, or those of you that are new but have watched my old shit, you guys know this isn't the type of video I normally do, but I wanted to do this one. So okay, so this month it was a September 11th thing. People asked me where I was when that happened, and I just got out of the SHU, and this time they had sent me to Sea Yard. This is my second time being in New Folsom. They had sent me to Sea Yard in New Folsom, right? And it was in 2001, remember. Now, anybody that was around, especially from up north, Raza from up north, no. So, historically, Sea Yard, Sea Facility in New Folsom was a stronghold for the Raza from up north. So when I came in, it was during a period where I believe it was in 2000, the Raza from up north had initiated something. I won't go into it, that's their thing. But they were at war with the administration as far as in the courts. And so they weren't getting yard. They were only getting concrete yard. And there was a thing where the administration was very unhappy to have Raza from Southern California start going to Sea Facility, which was always the program yard. And like the administration said, they didn't like having Raza from down south on the yard because they were a potential rival for every faction on that facility. Whereas when the Raza from up north were there, it was more smooth because they really only had the whites as a rival. And they had, the laundry, the main kitchen and all that. And so they always wanted that facility to be up and running. But because of the litigation that was going on, more Raza from down south were going to that yard. Bunch of I want to say 12 of us came down from the SHU all at once. It was 2 buses back to back. And it began to change the makeup of that facility. Began to change a lot of what was going on there. And, it used to be where if Vato from down south got hit on B Yard, he went to C Yard, And so, like I said, it was 2 buses that came down from the Bay back to back. And probably within 30 days, there was a lot of so-called emergency transfers and other disappearances of guys, Raza from down south that were on that facility that because of who was coming in, So this is about, okay, I'll just say this. So one day I was on the yard, and I was down there by the canteen. And, those of you that done time, you know how to listen to a yard, read a yard, pay attention to a yard. And it was like in a second, the tone changed and the sounds of the yard changed. So immediately, me and the guys I was with, we spun around and we looked up to the top of the yard where our handball court and tables were. And we saw a couple blacks at our handball court, one of our handball courts, and Raza were pushing that way, and so boom, we got to hot stepping it to the top of the yard. By the time we got there, it was, there was no more talk. It was over, So what had happened was some homies were playing handball. Ball went over the wall. They took off to go get another handball, and when they came back, there were some Crips playing handball on the handball court. So, the homies like, hey, you got to get off of that. That shit don't fly. And they said, you share that with us, right? And nobody had ever heard of that. Nobody knew that. No, they're like, what? We don't share shit. Nah, 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 nah. So cooler heads prevailed at the moment. Okay. And people approached people, and it was said, hey, you guys, the left one belongs to the Southerners. The right one is shared with the Southerners and the blacks from the Bay Area, right? And it was like, who agreed to that? Who said that? The guys that were here that got stabbed from the other yard, because that's different. That's a different thing. Like that's so. Immediately, things got tense. The whole facility, and you guys got to keep in mind again, it was new for Raza from Southern California to get to that facility and not have to just get off immediately and actually be able to post up. And the administration was doing everything they could to instigate something on the yard between the Raza from down south and the blacks. And this was a perfect opportunity for them, right? So at the time there was, keep in mind, there was probably maybe 120 Raza from Southern California on that facility. I don't know, maybe there was, it's just a guesstimate, maybe 100 Raza from up north. But again, they were in litigation, so they weren't coming out. But I'm giving you numbers so you guys can comprehend. There was probably 70 whites, about 50 Asians, and the rest were black on a yard with 1,000 people. So you could do the math, okay? And as things were heating up, things were getting tense. I was asked to go and sit down with a person from the Bay Area, a black from the Bay Area, and discuss the issue at hand. Basically, this is one of those where it's a final attempt, both sides, to get an understanding and go from there, right? So we set up the discussion. Nobody was in the day room but me and him. We were in 3 building and B section. And it was funny because he was younger, and obviously he was given a script. You know what I'm saying? Like, stick to this. And he had no really no etiquette. He's a little frivolous with his tone and shit, right? But he knew the seriousness. He knew I'm sitting there strapped, that if I don't like the way it's going, or the tone, I can go ahead and, do what I got to do, and he can do the same if he's strapped, which I doubt he was. But it was funny because during the discussion, at one point, he said, we don't even need to be talking, something along those lines. We don't even need to be talking because you guys don't even have the numbers to push your weight around. Not here. Right? And I remember laughing at him. And I remember telling him, again, I don't know the exact number, but I remember telling him this. I said, check this out. I think you got shit fucked up and you don't know how things work. I said, there's about 600 of you guys on this yard right now, right? I said, there's 120 of us on the yard. Out of our 120, 120 of them are going to use a knife. Out of your 600, maybe 100. We got the numbers still. You know that. And that shook him. It shook him. And, that right there was enough to where we had to part ways, and it'll be what it'll be, right? So obviously they said, hey, no, we're still talking. We'll still, whatever. But it's, one of those things where everybody's ready. But the administration playing the games that they play. Next thing you know, we go to yard the next day and they only let out 11 of us. And imagine that, 11. And I remember it was towards the end of the yard, probably had about 20 minutes left. And there was 7 of us on the top of the yard and there was 4 down by the canteen. And we noticed the grouping, right? And I remember looking down at the homies down by the canteen, the homies I was with. We were like, this is going to go down in history. The first time we lose, right? And we were like, we heard, I'm not going to say which car it was, but another car whispered in our ear, hey, they're going to move on you guys right now. And we're like, okay, cool, gracias, get out of the way. And we saw it was the Crips and Bloods were all talking. And then they started breaking up and moving in groups, right? So we looked down, like I said, Vatos down there by the canteen. We're like, good luck to them and good luck to us, because just the sheer numbers of it, it was not going to be good. There was no win in that, right? And that's one of those situations where even though we all had a knife on us, that situation, that's like the worst weapon, right? And I noticed there was a little chunk of concrete, maybe like the size of a fist. Perfect weapon in that situation, right? So I took my shirt off, homies got around so we could act like we're bullshitting. I tied it up in a shirt, put it off to the side. I said, man, I'm going to home run someone's ass with this thing, right? Conan the Barbarian, I'm going to swing this thing. But we knew, it's only going to last for a second. They moved the way they could in that scenario. There's no winning. It's just how many can you hurt before they do their thing. And you also know that the gunner is going to bust. That the block gun is going to be irrelevant. It's going to be the mini. So it was going to get ugly. And we waited and waited. And then the homies at the bottom by canteen made it all the way up. Boom. Which felt a little better. About that much better, right? And y'all recall. And we all shook hands and said, let's go. They're going to be coming right now. And they all lined up in front of the buildings. Which, it happens. A lot of times they'll do that to get people to separate. And then they started going in the buildings. And we're like, what the fuck? They went in. And there was never talk about handball courts again. It was the weirdest fucking thing I had ever seen. I'd never seen it happen like that. I seen where people get bullied or people just get gangstered out of it. To where it goes down. War, there's blood over the handball court or the tables or whatever. And it was so crazy to me. Like, that day we should have been dead. At least a few of us, And I don't know what made them change their mind, but I know amongst the blacks, there was a lot of people upset because they felt like, it was one faction that was supposed to move and the rest were going to follow suit. And they had all put themselves out there as far as bringing out their weapons, taking the chance of getting caught up with their weapons, digging them up, and having people see where their shit's dug, or where it's buried, and to have nothing happen. But this is just a glimpse of how things are in there, as far as there could have been a lot of dead people that day over a handball court that they never used and tried to use one time and then never used again. You know, they had 11 little ass Mexicans out there ready to die. But I ain't gonna lie, that was one of the most tense days, or most tense, what is it, probably 30, 45 minutes when we realized, whoa, this is what's, you know what I mean? Luckily, something clicked where they said, nah, and I didn't have to swing my Conan the Barbarian t-shirt. All right, man.